We made it, guys. Happy Wednesday.
Oh my gosh, I almost said happy Thursday. I'm glad that you're on top of it.
I'm getting better about knowing which day, but don't ask me about what day this is for sheltering in place. All right, Elizabeth. I'm giddy excited about sitting down and talking to our guest today, Mr. Aaron Ludin, owner of Orlando Branding Agency and the Orlando Real Producer magazine. Thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with us today.
Thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
You too. I hear so much about you from Renee, and I've had such amazing experiences with our real producers here in Austin that I'm excited to see what you're doing and everything that Renee's been sharing with me.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
So first things first, how are you and your family? Is everybody safe? You're doing okay?
We're doing great. The family's doing well. Everyone is safe. They're locked down like everyone else. So they're doing it with a smile on their face, and that's what matters, is everyone's happy and healthy.
Well, happy and healthy is where it's at. And there's so many things that I know a lot of our audience will already know about you, but can we just go back to sharing Aaron Ludin, the journey that kind of brings you to who you are today? I know you are one of the most generous collaborators ever, and you support the real estate community in such great ways, but can you share a little bit about the journey on what brings you to where we are today?
Sure. Where do you want me to start?
Tell me about yourself.
Whatever you want.
That's right.
So basically I run a brand, let me go back then. I started selling Cutco knives when I was 17 years old, a senior in high school. I got recruited by a company called Vector Marketing. They trained me in everything from personal development to sales to setting appointments, getting referrals, handling objections, like everything that like a full crash course, and not just the business, but also really in like success mindsets, habits, the same types of things that agents go out and get coaching in. I was just getting at a really young age. And so flash forward a few years, as I was graduating college, I got involved with a closing gift program that was a special division they had, which was basically selling branded closing gifts to real estate agents. My company expanded from there and started becoming a full service branding and promotional company. So that's when we opened Orlando Branding Agency, and we started to basically put your logo on anything you could think of. And teaching companies and organizations and clients, mostly in the real estate field, how to show what we call strategic appreciation. So like what to give as a gift, when to give a gift, if you do mailings a few times a year, if you do events, what to get, like how to give events or how to give products to people that actually mattered, stood out, kept your brand top of mind, those types of things. And so we help people with the systems. And so I've spent 12 years basically doing that. And a few years ago, one of my counterparts in Indianapolis, who was really doing a lot of the same stuff, he started a new program called Real Producers. He had pitched it to a big publishing company. We had this idea that top agents needed something to bring them together, that there were a lot of events as a vendor you could sponsor, but not a lot of things that actually brought the top people. We could build a great relationship with a brokerage. We could go to all their stuff, sponsor all their stuff, and it might take 5 years to meet the number one agent because they don't go to their office meetings and whatnot. So we were brainstorming how to get the attention and to build real relationships with the top people. And he basically came up with this idea to start a publication about and for the top producers, and to run events and to bring them together and to create community, and whether it's educational or social or just telling the stories, that by making it about the people, not trying to sell them something, like just bringing people together, that we would get a lot of attention and affection from the top producers in the city. And it blew up. It's spread all around the country. It's in 80-something markets now, maybe 90 by now. And they'll probably be in 100 plus by the end of the year. So I run the Orlando franchise, and we do a lot of events and put out monthly magazines to the top 500 agents.
It's so cool. And you glazed over one of the most important parts, and I want to put a spotlight back on this, is that Elizabeth and I have the same mindset in this as well, is that earn the relationship, come from contribution. It really is that simple. And you glaze over it, but the recipe that you've put all the ingredients in so well is you are creating events and opportunities for others to collaborate where you're earning the relationship, and you are 100% coming from contribution, which
Absolutely.
is why it's blown up the way it is.
Absolutely. I mean, we're in the business of serving the top agents and keeping the attention of top agents, and then helping them build relationships with the best service providers in the industry. Because that's the other key. There's two types of relationships that are really important to us, and that's agent to agent and then agent to vendor. And we know that as agents, obviously we can't control every vendor that everyone works with, but we also know that the top producers, they have a lot of trouble vetting and figuring out who they should be working with, knowing the difference between the legit people and the fly-by-night people, let's call them. And so we try to be like a credible source of other referrals from top 500 agents. That's where all of our partners come from. So people know that if they see someone that offers a service that makes sense for them, that they're at least doing a good enough job for another agent of their caliber to have referred them in the first place. And they're established enough to be supporting our platform, and they care enough, like they value the same things enough to be supporting the Real Producers platform long-term, not just this event, not just tonight's happy hour, but they're all on long-term contracts that go for several years. And so they value the relationship with you, and they're willing to kind of put their money where their mouth is and walk the walk. And so we really believe that that brings a huge service to the top producers who really are used to seeing some service providers as a dime a dozen. And there's a lot that can look legit on Facebook, or that can look legit when you meet them for a drink one time, or when you grab coffee. But like, there's a huge difference from them being the most referred in their category, or one of the most referred people in their category. And so we try to be like the almost like the Consumer Report, like, hey, we're not perfect, but you know, our people are, like, if you read it here, you know, they're going to do a good job.
Well, and I love hearing the history, because I didn't know all the history. I didn't understand we have Real Producers here, and it's been a great, great, great organization. Jason Sheldon is our relationship, and he's super outgoing and personable. He does great with all the events and the networking, and he makes it that we want to go. It's not just another thing on our calendar, right? And you're right. When you talk about the vendors and the caliber of the relationships and contacts he puts you in touch with, it's second to none. I will say, when I was in the magazine and they did a photo shoot, which was like with the family and crazy, even the photographer they used, there was method to the madness, if you will. And to this day, Rory was our photographer. And then I got to know him, and I got to know his heart. And I found this constant, or this connection that we had, that he is now one of the photographers for one of the nonprofits that I'm on the advisory board. So, I mean, these aren't just people that are, well, in my experience, they haven't been people that are just coming out for a paycheck, or just, you know,
hey, what are you doing there?
That didn't work the way I thought it might.
No, all I see is a waist.
Yeah.
I tried to make it your guys' picture.
That's actually a very funny picture. But I'm saying, these are people that they are truly serving our community as well, right? And they are like-minded, and it's not just the agents. So it's been a really, really great experience on my end here in Austin. So I love hearing the history and the backstory all the way from Orlando.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and I wish I could take credit for all of it, but really, my buddy Remington Ramsey is like the godfather of the program, and I just happen to have been along for the ride, and I'm blessed to have been a big part of it. And now it's just spreading like crazy. So,
can we talk about the business aspect of what you just outlined? And it's so clear to me where the secret to the success came, and the ingredients in the recipe. But how can an agent look at that same recipe and apply that toward their business?
The recipe, well, really, I think what agents need, there's two big lessons. The big one is to actually serve what your audience needs. Like too many people they think of what they want or what they need first, and then how to get people to do it, instead of the other way around. So, like, for example, you're seeing these days, like, I don't know about you, but I'm getting spammed like crazy on Facebook from people that they want me to look at their flyer. They want me to attend their virtual thing. I'm not saying the invite's a problem. I'm saying, like, they post it on Facebook and they tag me and 99 people, in this new group they just created. And it might even be COVID response for their city, or there might be like a hidden agenda or an agenda that's admirable, but there's also a hidden agenda of like, you're trying to earn business in some way, or you're trying to, like, you're not just there to serve me. I can see it. And so there's a lot of people that they're thinking of how they can keep in touch with their market, how they can stay top of mind, how they can, they're not thinking of like how they can serve and who they serve and how they can serve best. So I think the big lesson you can take from it, like we use at Real Producers, like we focus on who we serve the best. So we don't sell anything to real estate agents. We're only a resource to bring them together. You know, all of our partners are also vetted. They can't just join or sign up, you know, overnight. And so they're referred by other top 500 agents. So like, I would love to like generate leads online and have people just click through and sponsor Real Proof, but we don't work that way because we try to work with the best of the best. And so like I'm saying, what I'm saying is that to actually think about who your audience is and how you can really be serving them in this time. So if you're going to do something, like do it from a place of being genuine and actually caring about the group and actually caring about how to bring value to them, not how could I force my agenda and mask it as caring about the client. Does that make sense? And I think that's why we do well, is there's never a hidden agenda to what we do. We don't run a masterclass to sell you something. We don't do anything with a secondary reason. We don't recruit at our events. We try to be neutral with who we feature. We try to be balanced. We'll put people from 5 different companies on stage together, and we'll try to give them all about the same amount of time, you know. So the idea is to be a resource and to serve the community, and the community changes. Every year, the top 500 like actually change. And so I don't have the luxury of repelling and being polarizing. Like I was telling an agent last night, he was talking about some of the things some of the political beliefs he likes to post on Facebook. And I've been telling our group of publishers to stay out of that, because in the end of the day, you can be a lightning rod for whatever your beliefs are and work with your type of people. Like, and I don't just mean politically, this could be anything, your style of doing business. This could be like the speed you talk, the intensity. These could just be certain traits that you don't have to be liked by everyone to grow your business. You can generate plenty of business from the right people. But if you have a specific community that you farm, or you have a specific neighborhood, or for me, we have a specific list of top 500 agents. I don't get the luxury of picking who they are, what they believe in, and what they're attracted to or unattracted to. And so I have to be a neutral, objective source that they can respect, whether they're on this side of the spectrum or that side of the spectrum. I have to stay out of that because I don't get to wear that hat. So I know I'm kind of going on a tangent, but I think the big thing is to actually analyze who your audience is and what they need.
I don't think that's a tangent, Aaron. I think that that's a really valid point. And as a realtor, I feel that way the same way. Is we represent customers, all customers, right? I have a diverse segment of customers that come from all places, are all different types of people. So I don't do polarizing very well. But I will say this: you shared at a social media class that you hosted recently in Orlando something that stuck with me. And that was that some agents in their social media are trying to be too safe, and that it is okay sometimes to be your authentic self, meaning you got to put yourself out there, right? And take the politics out of it. I don't even want to talk about that because we're not talking politics, but putting yourself out there, you got to stick your neck out there a little bit.
Absolutely. I think that when it comes to like, not just attracting, but bringing people in, like magnetizing people to you that have the same, not necessarily like political beliefs but that would resonate with the same types of messages, that have the same core values, that maybe speak in similar language, have similar goals, or on similar tracks. Like those people, in order for them to connect with you, in order to connect with them, you've got to have an authentic personality. You've got to be willing to take a stand for the things you believe in. And so for me, I'd rather be too loud or too aggressive or too opinionated for your taste than be too dull for the people that agree with me and like the stuff I'm doing. I'd rather have a lot of energy and be able to inspire the people that are inspired by it, the people that aren't they can go elsewhere for it. Like, it's not a problem. I'm not offended. I'm not trying to be everyone's cup of tea, but I'm trying to be a strong cup of tea for the people that drink it, if you will, if we're using that metaphor.
I love that. And so that also then would put me in mind of going in depth with who you are or what you believe in doesn't necessarily mean you have to be polarizing, right? Like, we can be in depth without being polarizing.
Absolutely.
I think that's brilliant. Okay, Aaron, I know about you that you've overcome some pretty serious adversity as of recently. And just knowing about that story, it's an impactful story. I would love for you to share what you've gone through and how you've been overcoming it, because you have inspired many.
Thank you. Well, really where it all starts, that you may or may not know about, is a little over 3.5 years ago, I ruptured a disc in my back, and I was basically fairly immobile. I was hunched over like this. I had a rolling walker, with a little seat in the middle, like a grandma maybe would have at a nursing home. And it was just really a struggle to do anything, to shower, to get up and down the stairs, to get my dogs out, to get to places. And so I launched Orlando Real Producers not being able to walk, not being able to get around, like spending my weekends literally, I would spend them up here in this loft, like hunched over a yoga ball, wondering, like staring at the floor for hours just so my back wouldn't hurt, and wondering, like, I'd see people walking their dogs out the window, and I'd be like getting jealous of people walking by just because they can walk, and wondering, like, not only am I going to walk again, but when will I walk again? And if this is a problem for, like, I was 27 maybe at the time, 26 or 27 when it first happened. So maybe it was almost 4 years ago. Closer to 5 now. Anyway.
And so we go back to what day is it?
I'm like,
right?
Yeah, I'm about to turn 31. So, but anyway, it had been a while. I guess it was probably closer to 4 or 5 years ago. But long story short, I didn't really know what the rest of my life would look like, or when I'd walk, or if it'd be soon, or if I'd have permanent issues, or whether, like, when I get to be 70 or 80 or 90, I'm going to be in pain all the time. And so that was really like where the health challenges started, I would say, and getting through that and having surgery and recovering and getting back to kind of normal. Flash forward a little. So I don't know, it's been 2 years or so since the surgery, and I was in Breckenridge, Colorado, and we don't really know what happened because it's the middle of the night, but I was found at the bottom of the stairs. I wasn't drinking, I know that much. I wasn't doing anything, probably altitude, but I fell down the stairs and actually hit my head, had a brain bleed, was knocked unconscious, and they found me laying on the ground with my feet up a few steps. And so the EMTs came, they took me to the hospital. I spent 17 days in the hospital in Colorado, and then I got airlifted back to Florida. I spent 4 or 5 days at Halifax Health, and then basically went home into recovery at home. And so that was only 2 months ago that I was in the hospital, and I woke up with a broken wrist, big cast, and being told that, you've damaged your frontal lobe, you've damaged your brain, and really not knowing what cognitive function I'd have, whether I'd have it all back, whether I was permanently damaged, whether I was physically able to do normal things, take care of myself, drive a car, like, you name it. And so it's been definitely an interesting last few years here, but I'm really blessed to say that, like, I'm 97%, they said, recovered and doing really well and back to getting things done. And there's silver lining in some of these things, like being at home a little more often than I probably would have. It's probably good for recovery, but that's the challenge that I've been dealing with.
What do you feel? And I'm so glad to hear you're back, and you said 97%. I mean, you were at the Orlando Masterclass, I guess it was last month, and it was just like so excited to see you there. Through that recovery, even probably to this day, you must have down days. What are you pulling from to find the strength, even sometimes the mental strength, on those down moments and down days?
It's a great question. I mean, I'm not sure if I'd say that I have personally, like, down days, but but there's really three things that I learned this actually in a webinar I took this week from a guy named Simon Bowen. I'm gonna pull it up really fast, actually, if I can. He says that there's basically three things that a leader can do these days. Try to find it. And it's to stay anchored, be strategic, and drive business. Those are the three things: is stay anchored, be strategic, and drive business. And so, I mean, that's for obviously leaders, business owners. So I really think like drive business could also be just take action if you're not the business owner, or if you do something else or you apply it to another area of your life. So it's number one is to be strategic, to actually think through what you're trying to get done and what parameters you have and work with what you've got. The second one is to stay anchored, like to actually stay grounded, to be willing to face reality, to be willing to stay calm, to be willing to like see this as what it is. Like you can't change the whole situation, but to stay grounded and stay anchored and stay present to the fact that this is whatever is the reality, and it's not worth you worrying about the things you can't change. And then the third would just be to drive business. So basically focus on what you can be pushing forward or where you could be fighting, quote unquote. So, when I'm in the hospital, I'm not worried about what happened or why it happened. I'm worried about fighting. I'm worried about recovery. I'm only thinking about what do I need to do right now to focus on what matters. When I got back home, that's all I cared about. I wasn't out there trying to run my whole business, trying to make everything perfect. I was trying to make sure that my brain worked properly. So right now, for a lot of you, what I'm getting at is that it's easy to get overwhelmed and when you think too far into the future, especially when there's so much uncertainty about what the future is going to look like. But the truth is, you don't need to know what's going to happen in the future. You need to draw strength from your resilience, maybe from your past, maybe from a past situation you've been through, a story. That's probably the best thing you could do is tell yourself or remind yourself of a time that you were resilient and what strength you drew. And then to stay grounded, to stay anchored, as they say, in what the reality of right now is, and then drive business or drive action in what you can drive, whether that's, your kids homeschooling. Maybe it'd be better if they could go to school, but we can only change what we can change. Like, what can you drive forward? Maybe you help them with the routine. Maybe you get what I'm trying to say, like stay anchored, be strategic, and drive action, we could say. And those are the three things that I'm focused on right now. And those have really been somewhat how I've been approaching things since the accident. Really, before this all happened, I could easily be stuck, in Colorado still, in a hospital, probably on lockdown with this. I'm just blessed to be here. So I keep reminding myself that I'm lucky to be alive. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be functioning. I'm grateful to have good health. And because of where I'm at, I'm able to focus on not just being strategic and not just driving business, but staying grounded in what's actually going on so that I can maybe be the rock for the people that need a little bit more confidence in what's happening, or maybe they're feeling a little uncertain. I don't know what's going to happen, but I have a strong level of certainty in how I will react to whatever happens and where I'll end up regardless. And that's kind of my advice, on watching this, is to just, you might not need to know what's going to happen, but you should know that you have resilience, that you have the strength and the power, and rely on that.
Well, I am in awe that I remember Renee told me this happened. I didn't realize it was just 2 months ago. And the fact that you're here with us, you're doing all the things that you're doing, and you have the outlook that you have is amazing to me. A reminder to me going, oh my gosh, I have nothing to complain about. For me, I agree with what you're saying. I have a lot of people that'll call and same thing. The unknown is so scary, so fear-based. And I'm like, look, I'm just putting one foot in front of the other. That's all I can do, because for me, I will get completely overwhelmed. And so hearing that, what you just went through, and again, you're not talking about this from 2 or 3 years ago. This happened 2 months ago, and you're back at it. And you just have such an amazing outlook, I think is relevant for anybody, no matter what industry, what they're going through, or what day of the week it is. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem. I mean, I'm literally keeping it simple, like just to kind of show you. That's all I'm focused on today.
I love it. Be happy. I love it.
It's really easy, but it's not always really easy, but it's really easy to only focus on that let everything else come second. Like a lot of people watching this, they're so worried about their schedule, what they're like. If you just focus on what's most important, which is your mindset, the health of you, your family, whatnot. If what you can do to drive business, what you can focus on, what you can do in the like, otherwise people need to stop worrying about the things that are out of their control and focus on what you can focus on.
Yeah.
And it might be simple.
Well, a lot of what we can focus on right now is simple, but the cool thing is that if we look at silver linings, what we can focus on right now is strengthening the foundation that we will continue to stand on firmly, and like one foot in front of the other, like Elizabeth said. And I just keep saying, if someone says, how are you? I say, I'm forward focused, right? Like I am forward focused. I too don't have the answers, but what I do know is, oh, well, okay, here's an example. So Elizabeth and I did an interview last week with the leader in our company who's amazing. And one of the things he said that really struck me was, don't wait for it to return. Like I've had a couple calls the last couple of days, and it's a couple agents saying, well, I'm waiting. And yeah. I just want to say, don't wait for it to return is one of the biggest pieces of advice that hit me so strong over the last couple of weeks, because it is probably not going to return.
Absolutely.
It's going to look different. So are we forward focused and being prepared, or are we waiting for it to return?
Well, no matter where it goes, waiting is not a position of strength in general. Waiting is not a good position to be in. It's not a good strategy for a leader who wants to move forward and control their destiny. Waiting means that an external circumstance needs to happen in order for you to move on the path you want to move on. So in fact, I just shared this video today. It's from 5 years ago, and I randomly shot it in an airport while watching people wait for their bags. And I said something about, like, too many people are waiting on something to change, something external to come into their life, something external to happen. They're waiting till they get to a certain age, they get a certain job, they have a certain thing happen, until they can go get the things that they want, as if like they could just pick it up off the luggage carousel and go, oh, there's my life that I wanted. Like, we're good, but there's nothing to wait for. And so waiting puts you in a position, in my opinion, of weakness. And so if you want to be in control of your own destiny, then no matter what you're waiting for, whether you're a real estate agent waiting for the things to return to normal, or whether you're doing something else, waiting as a whole is not a good strategy for creators, in my opinion.
I see a lot of books behind you, and I know you read a lot. Talk to us a little bit, because you're diving in. Every time I turn around, you're diving into this book or the other book. Like, you want to share a couple of your favorites?
Couple of my favorites. That's a great question. Sure.
We all have some time to be reading right now.
Yeah.
Although I like Audible. Elizabeth, are you more of an Audible listener or reader?
I can't get my mind to quiet down or focus on Audible, because then I'm like, it goes off in some direction. I'm like, wait, what did I just listen to? I like reading. I like a book. I like the pages. I just like the books in my hand. I don't read as much as I used to, but I've got a bunch of them on my shelf that I want to dive into.
Love it. I'll give you a bunch of random books. This is one of my favorite books here by a friend of mine named Philip McKernan. It's called Rich on Paper, Poor on Life. A lot of you that are home and have a lot of time to contemplate things, this would be a really good idea to read. It basically it's called the subtitle's 3 Paths to More Meaning and Money, and talks a lot about whether or not the goals that you think you want are really what you want, or they're just false constructs that were placed by society or other people's opinions or expectations, and whether you really want the things you think you've been going for. It's deep. Another good one is Relentless by Tim Grover. This is a really
one of my favorites. One of my favorites.
This one's been around for a while. It's a great book. Tim Sanders' Love is the Killer app. It talks about how to win business and influence friends. This is a phenomenal book. He used to be one of the chief marketing officers at Yahoo. This is kind of more spiritual or personal development, Dark Side of the Light Chasers. I just grabbed a couple books that stood out. This is a really good book, especially for anyone who's had issues in their past of any sort. I personally can't speak to as many as this probably helps with, but if anyone here has had either trauma or they have what they call a dark side, or you feel like you have a dark side to you, this is a really good book. It's a great book just for opening up as a person in general, but it's a really good book for anyone that's like, let's call it, has some type of baggage from something that's happened to them in the past.
Isn't that everyone?
I would say most people, but the extent to which that's true for some people is so much stronger. So I don't want to pretend that like I've been through some of the things I know other people might say they've been through if they're watching this. So
Yeah.
The Fred Factor by Mark Sanborn. This is a phenomenal book about a post office, basically a guy that goes way above and beyond with customer service, way above the call of expectations. This is a really good one. You know what? I'll give you two more since we're at it.
Now we have homework, Elizabeth.
I know.
And you can find this.
Are you writing them down?
Of course.
My friend, I think it just got re-released under his real name. This is his pen name, Ross Jeffries. His real name is Paul Ross. The book's called Subtle Words That Sell. This is a really good book. It talks a lot about phrases and psychology of how to get your prospects to convince themselves to buy without pushing, pressuring, or pitching. So it talks about like NLP and language patterns. My personal coach, Anil Gupta, wrote a really good book called Immediate Happiness. This is just about like fulfillment and whatnot. It's a great book here. And then
that's some good. Oh, you got one more.
I helped co-author a book with my friend Greg Reed called Climb. It's got a lot of good stuff here. There's like 12 or 13 of us that co-authored this book, and each wrote a chapter. And it's got a lot. This is more of like advice on success. It's kind of like a compilation of people's advice on success in relationships. But these would be a couple ones that were within my periphery.
Okay,
enough
great.
book recommendations?
I listen. We were asking the right person.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I could do this all day.
So, Aaron, let's go tactical for a minute. Whether you're a real estate agent or a business owner right now, you sit down in the morning and you open up your laptop. What the heck should we be doing?
It's a great question. So I would say that right now, relationships are really the insulation in your business, real relationships. And so I'm not here. I don't know the right answers for how anyone should respond, but I probably have never been in your exact, like I've never sold a house. So I'm not a real estate agent. I can tell you what a lot of agents are doing because I speak with most of the top agents, but I don't want to pretend that I'm the expert on what you should be doing to respond. Here's some ideas that I think anyone could be doing that doesn't know what to do with their day. How about that? I would be reaching out to the people in your network, clients, referral partners, anyone, and just actually reaching out without an agenda, seeing how they're doing, how their family is, how they're feeling, and whether or not there's anything they need help with. Anything. It doesn't need to be in the business, and it shouldn't be, by the way, do you know anyone that wants to buy or sell or anything like that. It's strictly like for the purpose of reaching out and letting them know that you care and letting them feel cared about. Because let's be honest, if you're watching this video, you can look at whether or not you're raising your hand. I can't see you, but raise your hand if you've gotten more than a dozen calls from your network from people that actually care and wanted to see how you're doing. Because I'm going to guess that most of the people watching this have not been reached out to nearly as much as they have Facebook friends. And even for me, like I had this crazy event happen last month and 438 people gave to this GoFundMe my friend set up, which was really like inspiring and humbling. And I was really grateful. But I looked just a month later and I've heard from almost nobody. Now, not that I expect them to all reach out, but what I'm saying is that it was a great indicator that, yes, there are a lot of people that there's a lot of love in my life and people that care and a lot of friendships that were impactful. But right now, while everyone's in this time of crisis, they all are so worried about their own immediate agendas and problems or just being stuck in their situation that they probably aren't being reached out to by a lot of people. They're probably not feeling the overabundance of connection, of care, and of love that they could be feeling. And so I think anyone on this that's a business owner especially, but really the non-business owners too, should be reaching out to their network, their key relationships, maybe even their clients, maybe their farm community, and actually checking in with people and taking their temperature, not with an agenda, not to get them on your next conference call or Zoom or something, but to actually see like, how are they doing? What's going on? What do they need help with? Is there anything they need help with? And let them know that you care. I think that is like the best thing we could be doing right now. And it will change the dynamic of relationships forever. the people that do it right, I believe. Like when I go through and I call my clients who didn't expect a call, I know that it's going to change the dynamic and they're going to realize that I actually care about them, not just that I care about their business.
Well-being phone calls.
Absolutely. Wellness check, we'll call it.
That's right. That's right. All right, Aaron. Well, we are just so grateful that you spent time with us today. And I am so happy to see that you are doing well. I mean, wow, just keep on doing it. We appreciate everything that you're doing in the real estate industry, especially. You do always come from contribution, and the community that we have, by the way, is one of the things getting us through this time, right? Because we have this community that we can lean into.
Absolutely. Thank you. And you, honestly, I got to give you credit because you nudged me to do that, to bring everyone together. And we had 91 people jump on the Zoom call. So, which was really
except for
I know
except
you weren't
for
able
me
to make
because
it.
we had no internet.
I gave you a shout out though. I did give you a nice shout out, but and we'd love to have you on the next one. We'll probably continue to do them.
Well, you want to talk about terror setting in? Get that that notification your internet's out and you might be out for days. That feels like terror right now.
Oh my God, I can only imagine.
Will you let everybody? Oh, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thank you for pouring into us today. I mean, especially, I'm just still sitting here with everything you've had going on in your world. And a lot of people would be sitting there saying, poor me, and just kind of putting their head in the sand. And you're not. You're still, I don't know how you normally are, but I'm you're collaborative all the time. But it's like, wow, in this, 30, 45 minutes, just sharing, and your energy and your optimism, it's infectious. And so just thank you for pouring into all of us today.
Thank you. Well, I'll share one last thing, if that's cool, that you made me think of. I posted this on Facebook this morning, and I really think that this is pretty much the reality of the situation. And it's that I wrote something like, leaders, if you put your head in the sand, if you think now's the time to put your head in the sand, you're going to get buried. And it's really my belief about it. And honestly, personally, because I had just gotten out of the hospital and just gotten back, I wanted to put my head in the sand just because I was still in recovery. You know, when this all first started going down, I spent a little bit of time on the sidelines kind of watching. And what I realized was that if you sit on the sidelines too long, the game ends, you know what I mean? Like in sports. And so leaders, like, this isn't a time to put your head in the sand, because people are going to remember how you responded, how you reacted, and whether or not you were able to be a beacon of hope. And maybe they won't hold it against you if you don't, step up, but you're missing an opportunity to impact people, to really lead, and you become more replaceable in the situation where you don't seize the opportunity to step up and bring people together and make an impact. So I really believe that I owe it to my community to step up and not put my head in the sand, but to find a way to lead through these times of trouble, so people can look back and know that when what hits the fan, that they know how they can expect me to respond. I won't know that I don't have the right answers, but I know that the people that know me know that when there's a crisis, they know I'm not going to quit and I'm going to step up to whatever it is. And I want them to be able to trust that and know that similar people who value similar things, we're going to connect a lot better and a lot deeper, both now and in the future.
There's a fear about, so during this time or any time where there's crisis, that if you do step up, you have to have all the answers. And that's actually not true, right? You don't have to have all the answers to step up. It's even just being a connector and focusing on the relationship. So that's a really valid point that you just make.
Absolutely. I mean, we just did a community mastermind, like I was talking about on Monday, and I started by explaining, hey, we're not doing this call because I have the answers. I don't know the answers. I'm not even an agent. But I know that collectively, as a 91 of the best and brightest minds in Central Florida real estate, that you guys will have plenty of your answers. So what we did was we just asked that we had 3 questions. We went around the horn and had them answer it. And then we hit a button in Zoom to stick them into breakout rooms together. And they met 3 or 4 or 5 new people that, or maybe not new, but in a lot of cases, new people they had never spoken to. And they were on camera discussing ideas together. And then we brought them all back together to hear the best responses. There was no teaching. There was no expert. There was no panel. It was only about bringing people together to find the best answers, to crowdsource the collective wisdom of the group, as my friend at Exchange, which is the program that we were copying, basically is called. But they talk about crowdsourcing the collective wisdom of a group, and they're highly trained in a way. I'm not trained in it as much as the facilitators are, but I know that when you unlock the answers and you bring people together, and you don't pretend you know all the right answers, we're looking to find them
together.
Exactly.
Love that idea.
Where can we find you, Aaron Ludin, owner of Orlando Branding Agency and Orlando Rare Producers? Could you please share your contact information?
Sure. You can find me on Facebook, Aaron Ludin, AARONLUDIN, or you could find me, or you could reach me at aaron@orlandobranding.com. AARON@orlandobranding.com is my email. And that's it, pretty much.
We appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Let us know if we can do anything to stay connected with you and help. I will hope that my internet stays intact for the next mastermind.
Perfect. Oh yeah, March 16th. If you're a real estate agent, you should register at masterclassorlando.com.
Will do.
Take care.
All right, guys. Have a great day, and thanks again, Aaron.
Thank you.
Bye.